We have the environmental crisis because we have different energy options, and we have to consider, let's say, the less costly, from the environment point of view, energy technology, which is not the case if you look it from the African perspective, because in Africa you don't have any choose or possibility to select your source of energy, and they do with what they do have, and what they do have is almost nothing if we consider the energy situation in Africa. And from my point of view, what is available today and what can easily be used in Africa is the renewable energy sources. Then you can see that we have these two different options when we deal with the environment. Environment is a major issue for the developed world. If you take it from Africa, they do have some other measures. From this perspective, everything has almost to be done still in Africa. And the figures we were showing this morning, when you take some countries where you have the access to electricity services, which is less than 10% today in some countries. This is really, something that talks to us. And it means that the energy technology, even if the potential do exist, the technology has to be brought somewhere, or at least the basic knowledge has to be brought from somewhere, especially from the developed countries. If we go back to 2002, when we had the World Summit on Sustainable Development, and there were different areas that have been identified as critical area for sustainable development, like water, health, biodiversity, etc. And when you look to these different areas that are the critical issues for the development, you see that energy is in the heart of each of them. You need energy to get access to water. You need energy to get health or quality for health. You need energy for biodiversity, etc., etc. Energy is needed for all the sectors related to the human life. And if you would like to improve the economy, you need also energy. And you see that energy is critical. If you don't have access to energy, you mean that you are missing the developmental purposes. If we take the case of Africa, you have, of course, a diversity, including within the potential of energy. You have some countries in Africa who are oil producers. You have some countries who do have a huge potential for hydro energy. And you have some countries that do, lack of any source of energy may be accepted for some wind and some solar, etc. And in order to get, let's say, access to energy for all, they should be an international solidarity, and also at the continental level, an international solidarity for energy. And we can imagine that if you take the case of Zaire, you can produce energy which can be distributed. We can also imagine that a special price for the energy cost within, as a solidarity from even within the continent itself, from those who are in the middle developed and those who do have anything. It is really a critical issue. If you would like to have, access to energy, we have to get also an energy solidarity within the continent. I still do believe that not that much is done, and there is still a lot to be done concerning this solidarity. And the figures I was raising, at the beginning of our interview, when I mentioned the example of some countries that do lack really access, where the population, more than 90%, they do not have access to electricity, means that we have still a lot to be, there is a lot to be done. And we have to look into how to improve this solidarity. Of course, the continent is very well blessed with all energy resources. If you look to oil, you have several, countries who are oil producers, member of the OPEC. If you look to other forms of renewable energies like the hydro, like the wind, you have a huge potential. Solar is the blessed also continent, etc., etc. The resources are there. They can, we can, if all these resources are well exploited, we can really respond to the energy needs. However, this needs solidarity, knowledge, local knowledge, etc., which means that UNESCO mission is there. We were talking about how to get this international cooperation. You get this international cooperation if you do have also transfer of knowledge, transfer of know-how, how to adapt the technologies to the local needs, how to locally get your own technology. And this can be done only if you have really well-educated and trained people, and also getting the framework to accept this transfer of technology. And this could be done through the institutional and the human development resources. And here is UNESCO's mission, and here is UNESCO's role. UNESCO also can play the role of defining, identifying new strategies, new policies, helping member states in order to define their priorities and also their policies, and also to play the role of broker. To get everybody together and working together in order to improve the situation. Absolutely. I think that the mandate of UNESCO, as you are raising this multidisciplinarity, is very helpful to do so. I am not saying that UNESCO has to be alone. No, of course. And we are talking now more and more about one UN. They should be, a lot of efforts. If you look to the needs, let's just look to the needs. You have enormous needs. I don't think that one country or one UN institution alone can, respond to all these needs. No, there should be, a huge effort coming from all the different sides, including from the different UN institutions. But UNESCO has also a key role to play when you look to the mandate and the different disciplines that UNESCO cover. This is at least one step to bring people together to understand what is this, to make a diagnostic of the situation. Now, locally, there should be always somebody who has to initiate. In any development, in any cooperation, or there should be always somebody, an institution, etc., that has to initiate the process. And this could be really a major issue, especially coming from the developed country, where we can mobilize the different resources, the different possibilities, opportunities, potential, etc. And this could be played really very well by OIBC. If you would like to help somebody, don't give him the fish, but let him know how to fish himself. And you are absolutely right. And I think that this international solidarity should also be organized. The heart is good to get something, etc., coming from the heart, but we have also to organize this help and to see what are the areas that allow or permit a sustainability of this help. Because if you give $1 to somebody and he will use this $1 and he don't know how, tomorrow how will be done, this is and this will bring us also to this microcredit. It's not to give, but to give, even if it's a very small amount, but this small amount will generate other possibilities or economical possibilities. And the international cooperation should be also done this way. We are talking about, yes, of course, we help, but we help to create locally a sort of knowledge, even if it's a basic knowledge. But this basic knowledge will help improving the situation. You can help, there are different ways, and this shall be organized in a proper manner. I don't think so, or at least it's not enough used, even if it's, a method that has already proven its the potential. It's not. It shall be developed, especially within the case of renewables. Can you imagine if with a small amount, which is a loan that can be given, but to be given for energy equipment, this energy equipment will bring, economical conditions, etc., etc. This is something where we can imagine that, it could be very much helpful. The water issue, we know that water is you know, as you know, a world priority, and I think that UNESCO, with, even though it's not as we say a funding agency, but it's an agency that can bring around an idea or a good idea, some potential resources and some potential partners, etc. And I mean the education, the capacity building, the energy issue, the science, etc. There are so many areas where UNESCO is playing within these very limited resources its own role. And if we take the energy area, just let me tell you that we were talking about energy and how to bring energy. Who is going? Because education is the poor parent. You know, we always like when there is the possibility to help to see infrastructure, but nobody invests in human resources, in the knowledge. And here is UNESCO, especially within the area of energy, where we are also doing. The development of the continent. And when we talk about development, there is a base for the development. And UNESCO, within its mandate, I mean, targeting the different critical issues for the development.